Hi guys, Richard here. So a lot of people have been asking me a lot of questions around digital marketing, especially because with the COVID-19 situation, there's a lot of demand for digital marketers. So a lot of people have just been asking questions around how to get into it or just some career path advice, as well as just some general advice on anything that that I've picked up along the way. So this is going to be a no BS lesson. I'm going to give you exactly what I think. So some of these might be opinionated. Some of these might not. Some people might go, "Hey, you know what? I'm not sure if I agree with that." But this is just my point of view. So just going onto my LinkedIn, I'm currently in the marketing program manager role in F5. I've been a DMMM, I've been a digital marketing specialist, a lead. So I've kind of progressed my way up, and I found a lot of things that have worked and things that haven't worked. And so I just want to impart that knowledge onto you. So just as an FYI, I'm going to use drawing tool to kind of go through this. It might not be the best way, but it just gives me a way to kind of like whiteboard something without having an actual whiteboard. So the first question that I get asked a lot is, well, not asked a lot, but what should I start off with? How do I get into digital marketing? Now, a lot of the times, you have to get in through like a specialist route. So a lot of the times, you're going to be having to work as a specialist in the agency. This could be from media buying. So media buying means you're helping purchase media for other your corporates. Like if you're working for a company like, let's say AT&T. You need to buy media for them. Like let's say they want to buy some ads online. You have to commission. Yeah, it's like a project management type of role where you work with, if you're on the agency side, commissioning those ads for the buyer. So generally you have these type of specialist roles. A lot of the times you do have to go into a specialization before you get into digital marketing. If you're lucky, there's another pathway, which is you become a graduate for a corporate company, right? And so let's just put that the other way around. So the reason why you can become a graduate is because it gives you a pathway into a corporate. A lot of the times digital marketing is pretty hard to get into a corporate environment just because generally they'll try to take people who have a specialist background in the beginning. The other way you can get into it is just by looking for coordinator, assistant roles. Initially, just because they are entry level, 1 to 2 years generally, so if you've done an internship, it would help. But otherwise, the other pathway is going through an agency or a specialist role. So just bringing up this kind of chart here. So you can see here, you got a lot of these like different kind of levels. So generally, the orange level is your entry levels, but you got to keep in mind that a digital media specialist versus a coordinator. Generally, a specialist is above a coordinator. So you just need to make sure, especially if you're just getting into marketing, that you look for those coordinator roles, especially if you're trying to go into corporate. Obviously, for startups and stuff, you have different types of role titles, but generally, you want to keep an eye on your assistants and coordinators, especially for the beginning, and work your way into a specialist role. Now, you have different role titles in agencies. So in agencies, generally, although you might start off as like an assistant or something like an assistant buyer, there's like different types of kind of levels. You just have to keep in mind that agencies and corporate titles can be slightly different. A director at a agency could be the same level as a manager at a corporate. So just got to keep that in mind. So that's one thing you just got to keep in mind, because a lot of people confuse this and they go, hey, I'm like, this guy's a director. How come he moved to a corporate as a manager? Well, it's because the hierarchical difference is a lot different, especially in agencies versus corporate. Now, the second kind of common topic which I get asked is corporate versus agency. So a lot of the times you do have a battle between, should I take a job at a corporate or versus agency? Now, in the beginning of your career, taking a job at an agency is okay, but I highly recommend at one point jumping ship to a corporate. The reason is because if you're trying to grow your career, agencies can bottleneck you. This is just my personal opinion, so as I said, I'm very opinionated. I have a lot of friends who've worked for agencies, and once they made the move to corporate, they never look back, unless obviously they go start their own agency. So I'll personally recommend you go into corporate as soon as possible. The second biggest reason why I say corporate is because agencies tend to make you specialize in a certain area. Even if you're a director, you are usually a specialist in something. So for example, I got offered a SEM director role before, but that is focused on SEM, right, and search engine marketing. And you're bottlenecked in that area. And when you go into corporate, they expect a lot of generalist kind of skills rather than agency skills, which brings us to the third point, which is specialist versus T-shaped marketer. Now, if you haven't looked up, if you don't know what T-shaped marketer, you should probably look it up. But a lot of the times, a lot of people ask, like, what should I do? Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't be a specialist, because there are a lot of people I know who are who work on as a specialist. So I know people who have special skills that work in a specialist role. For example, if you're an email marketing manager and you need to manage certain, for example, using an application like Marketo to manage emails and stuff, you can pay very well. But the only issue with that is you're kind of stuck. But some people are just happy at that level, and there's no problem with that. But if you're interested in climbing the ladder or just getting general experience and kind of becoming a middle management or something like that, then being a T-shaped marketer just makes a lot more sense, because you are a generalist, so you have expertise in other areas. So if you think about it logically, why would they hire someone as, like, say, head of marketing or a marketing manager who has a special skill but doesn't know, like, the rest of the marketing chain, right? So a T-shaped marketer is just generally something you should aspire to and try to be, which brings us to the fourth point, is take all opportunities, especially early in your career. As a specialist, as a manager, even like there's kind of that area, like coordinator, like any of the early like kind of levels, you probably just want to take every opportunity you can. Now, the main reason for this is because it develops you as a T-shaped marketer. You're gaining all the skills as possible. So when I was working out at Nutanix, I was a specialist there, and what I did was I was a digital marketing and event specialist, but I took like everything. I took activities in channels, so channel marketing. I worked with the sales team. I did as much as I could to get as much experience as possible to develop me as a T-shaped marketer. And that eventually got me my next opportunity, which I didn't even need to find. They came to me to bring me on as a digital marketing manager, right? And so just through that, just taking an opportunity not only develops your own skill set, but also it gives you an opportunity of basically networking with everyone. And that brings me to the fifth point, which kind of brings me to the fifth point. It's okay to chase a role title. Now, this might be a bit of controversial kind of thing, but I personally believe, for example, if you're a coordinator and you get offered a specialist role at another company, but you love your current company, but the other company might see it be a good opportunity, go for it. Especially early in your career, you should definitely chase some role titles, just because it helps you climb a lot easier. Especially in the early levels, you want to get up the ladder as soon as possible to hit kind of like your middle management or just the marketing manager level, and then you can kind of figure out what you really want to do, because you're kind of getting that skill set across the board and you're climbing that ladder, which in the end, to be honest, from what I've seen in marketing, it does help, in my opinion. And this brings me to another point. Make sure you're networking. So networking, this relates kind of to the previous point. Make sure if you do jump ship, keep a good relationship with everyone. Like, the only reason I managed to get a role from Nutanix to F5 now is just keeping a good relationship with everyone. Like, they know my work ethic, they know what I'm capable of, what I can do in the working environment, and so if they feel like I'm a good fit, then they'll bring me in. And that's just how it is. You keep a good relationship with everyone. It's very important to do this. Some people just like to burn bridges and just hop. If you're hopping, make sure you keep a good relationship with everyone. And this brings me to the last point. So make sure I kind of start off with this, but in the beginning, make sure you're always climbing. Like, always take opportunities and always make sure you're climbing the ladder. Like, there's so many times where I feel like people would just tell me, especially in the beginning of my career, it's okay to just be slow and like just kind of, take just stay in your job, do the job well, things will come well. Well, to be honest, sometimes it does, but sometimes you just gotta look for those extra opportunities, right? And I would have never gone to my stage if I didn't go and reach out to certain, when I was going for my Nutanix job, I applied for that one and I got that job, and that catapulted me to what I am now. And that just kind of illustrates how valuable it is just to have a mindset that you're always looking for the next opportunity. But make sure you don't like just work at a job for like 5 months and then look for something else. Obviously, keep a good work history, but make sure you're always looking for opportunities, and make sure if you're not climbing outside of the company, maybe you can get a promotion inside the company, which kind of brings us like that to that point of take as many opportunities as you can, develop yourself early as possible. But yeah, so start off with being a specialist, but eventually, in my opinion, develop yourself into a T-shaped marketer, and that in my opinion is how you should be developing your digital marketing career early on. So hopefully that helps. 5 things which kind of like I wish I knew, of my friends knew, as well as just something general tips. Hopefully at least one of them just gives you a bit of more insight. So yeah, hopefully that helps, and see you next time.